Hello there, how are you? Welcome to Breakfast All Day. Twice in 1 week. We had Oscar nomination talk on Tuesday. Today's a Thursday with normal reviews.
Yes.
Oh gosh, it's January.
Ooh, it's Januarying very hard out
It
there.
is, and I'm Christy.
I'm Alonzo.
Hello, good to see you guys and hear you and hear ourselves and all that. So we've only got a couple of reviews for you. There's a lot of movies opening, but most of them are really terrible, so we're just going to focus on a couple here for you and also play a little bit of catch up with True Detective.
Yes.
We have episodes 2 and 3. So I would love to start with Serenity if we could.
Ooh, boy.
I've got to work through this with you. I'm in the midst of reviewing it for RogerEbert.com, and we're going to try really hard not to spoil anything for you.
No, this will be a spoiler for your review, although this is the kind of movie where Dave White would say it's not a spoiler, it's a selling point.
Yeah.
But we'll still be coy about it.
Can I describe it? Can I try?
Yeah,
All right. So Matthew McConaughey is the captain of a fishing boat, a commercial, for hire fishing boat on this tiny idyllic island called Plymouth. It's beautiful. It's magnificent. It's impossibly quaint and scenic. And he is this tormented, chain-smoking, hard-drinking, constantly sweaty and frantic and sad fishing boat captain with the unlikely name of Baker Dill. Baker Dill. And so this is like a pulpy neo-noir about this guy who's a fishing boat captain who is damaged, who has a past. He had been an Iraq war veteran. He is seeking the solitude of this island.
Right.
Djimon Hounsou is his first mate. And one day, a blast from the past in the form of, I guess it's his ex-wife.
His ex-wife, or at least the woman with whom he had a child.
Right, Anne Hathaway comes sauntering in through the door of the only bar that exists on all of Plymouth. And she's smoky-eyed, and she's the uber femme fatale here, and she's got a proposition for him. She is now miserably married. The person that she left Matthew McConaughey for, Jason Clarke, is this very wealthy and kind of he's got to be some kind of underworld figure. It's sort of shady and shadowy.
He's monstrous, whatever he is.
And he's really horrifically, physically and verbally abusive to her. So she's wealthy beyond her wildest dreams, but she's miserable because this guy is horrible. And she presents to Baker Dill this proposition: take him out of your boat, take him fishing, get him drunk, push him overboard, let the sharks eat him.
Right.
And it does not necessarily go down that way.
Yeah, so she basically comes to him with the offer that every film noir starts with, which is kill my husband.
Right, the damaged, the beautiful woman.
Yeah, from Out of the Past to Body Heat, they basically sort of there's a certain formula we're hewing to here. I mean, kill a husband in Out of the Past, but
yes.
You know what I mean. You know what I mean.
Yes, and so Jason Clarke is a horrible guy, and then eventually Jason Clarke does show up on the island, and
is indeed horrible.
And is indeed horrible, and does indeed go out on the boat. And so there's a lot of ethical back and forth here with Matthew McConaughey's character as far as what do I do? Do I take the money? Do I do this? But then there's also what seems to be a psychic or a supernatural connection with the son that Matthew McConaughey and Anne Hathaway had, who is back home in Miami, I want to say.
They never say where home is.
No, there's some references to Miami.
Is there? I think that's where Diane Lane's son was in Miami.
Oh, right. But the notion that things are wild there, and here on Plymouth it's pure and simple. Right. And so there's a son who we cut back and forth to. And that's all I'm going to say.
Yeah. This movie's written and directed by Stephen Knight, who made one of our favorite films of the last decade, Locke.
Absolute favorite films.
Which is, people might argue, a gimmicky movie in that it stars Tom Hardy as someone who spends the entire movie driving an SUV and having conversations on the phone, and it is still dramatically riveting. And there are other voices, including, I want to say, Olivia Colman, right?
She's one of the voices on the phone.
Yeah, on the phone. But, so this movie is also gimmicky, but in a terrible way. Because when the gimmick happens, you're like, oh, that's a stupid gimmick.
Right, and there's a partial reveal of what the gimmick is about halfway through.
Oh, no, there's a partial reveal what the gimmick is in the very opening shot of the movie.
Well, once you go back and think about it.
No. The moment that
You
happened.
think you know, okay.
I knew exactly. Here's the thing. The opening shot of the movie tells you what the gimmick is, but you're thinking, oh, it can't be that. No. And then you find out later, oh, yes, that's it.
It is that. And a lot of times with a big plot twist like this, it can be a lot of fun to then go back and try to play catch up and try to put the pieces together.
That whole what? Bruce Willis was dead? Yeah.
Right. Don't tell anybody. So that part can be fun. But what happens here, once the ultimate massive plot twist is revealed by the end, is it really raises a lot more questions than it answers.
Oh, yeah.
And the questions are icky.
Oh, yeah. No, it's very uncomfortable. And it's also the kind of movie that tries to get away with the idea of, you thought this movie was just dumb, but no, this is all because of a reason. It's like, yeah, but the reason's also dumb, you know. So like they basically are trying to explain away why this seemed like a very trite film noir and why X, Y, and Z. And yeah, it just doesn't. It cannot write a check to cover that.
Right. So the fact that it's dumb tries to explain how bad it is, but that's not necessarily. It's not like a, oh wow, that's really exciting kind of thing. It's baffling. So yeah. So Stephen Knight also wrote what, Eastern Promises.
And Dirty Pretty Things.
Right.
But then he also wrote like The 1,000-Mile Journey and.
100-Foot Journey?
100-Foot Journey, yes, sorry.
Is it the thing where they cross the street to eat Indian food?
Yes, that one. He also wrote Burnt.
Oh, the
Bradley Cooper chef movie, yeah. So he's got a very mixed record. But hey, he invented Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, so...
Oh, did he?
Oh, yeah. That was his original claim to fame. So he can like make movies or not make movies or live on Plymouth Island for the rest of his life, and he doesn't care.
Well, he should have phoned a friend here.
Boom!
Because this was not good. Having said that, though, it is batshit crazy enough that it must be experienced. Like, it's so insane. I would put it in that rare category that you and I enjoy so much, along with like Collateral Beauty and The Book of Henry.
So awful,
like,
it's
awesome.
Up
there, awful, but like a specific brand of awful, like crazy awful.
I mean, maybe not like pay money and see it in a theater awful, but definitely like stream it with friends and cocktails, because you are just kind of like slacked on. I mean, just for all the moments of like Matthew McConaughey sort of posing and making the kind of furrowed brow faces that he makes in those Lincoln commercials and literally yelling at the sky. He does that a bunch. If you ever wanted to see his ass, boy, plenty of that in this film.
There is so much McConaughey ass.
Yeah.
It's true. Also, you get some really terrible sex scenes and banter with Diane Lane.
Oh, I felt so bad for her.
Poor Diane Lane, like, she is stuck in this one room, this very shadowy room. She's like hot to trot divorcee or something on the island who Matthew McConaughey goes to her when he needs money and he sleeps with her. He's basically like her personal man whore.
Yeah.
And she's saddled with like really awful, like sexy repartee with him.
Yeah.
She gets to leave that room exactly once. I felt so bad. She spent a lot of time like peering through the slat in her shirt.
Oh, right, yes. And it's like, and because she's Diane Lane and is better than this, like, you know, most of what she does in the movie is has sex with Matthew McConaughey, but she does it with like a wrap on.
Right.
Like she has some sort of like silky robe, even though it's super muggy and hot and everyone's constantly sweating.
Yes,
you know?
yes. So we have. I feel like Anne Hathaway and Diane Lane are the only ones who really understand what is happening here.
This is like a cast you feel bad for, because like McConaughey, it's weird how he went from like irritating to like awesome, and now he's kind of irritating again. But you know, he, Hathaway, Diane Lane, I mean, Djimon Hounsou, who's like saddled with this sort of like Zakes Mokai role. That is an actor who used to get stuck with these sort of like roles of people who were mainly there to give advice to white people and sort of maybe be in tune with nature, you know.
He's borderline magical.
Yeah, that's annoying. I mean, Jason Clarke, I'm not a big fan of, but even he deserves better.
Yeah, no, he is. He's very over the top. And again, by the end, you come to understand why these characters are this way, why the whole thing is so arch, why it feels like a parody of a film noir in a lot of ways. But even then, that puts you into a whole other weird mindset when you find out what's really happening. Anyway, the less said, the better about that. But I almost want to recommend this. I'm very on the fence.
I'm an eventual recommend. Like, don't see it this weekend, but later when it pops up on streaming or cable or whatever, you know, and you're in the right mood, like, oh, we got to see this thing.
Yeah, it's kind of pretty though. The
scenery. Yeah, I mean, it is. You know, it. I don't know where they shot it, but it's. Yeah,
it's Caribbean.
It looks like a travel commercial. You know.
Yes, lots of overhead shots of like the boat in this like glittering blue water with like various sharks, various highly symbolic sharks swimming around, and anyway, it's dumb. I had fun. So my number is a 2.8.
Yeah, I said 3. You know, for Anne Hathaway pulls off being a blonde better than you think she might.
And her wardrobe is kind of cool. It's all like big, wide brimmed hats with like ribbons and scarves around them. She gets to wear like sexy, classic island resort wear.
Yeah, it's very the Kathleen Turner collection.
It is. So our number is a 2.9. It's at 21% on the tomato meter right now. So, yeah.
I mean, it's bad, but it's at least bonkers bad and not boring bad.
Oh no, it's never boring.
Yeah.
It's exciting all the time, whether it should be or not. Oh, there's also, I forgot, there's a guy who was following Matthew McConaughey around the island in a suit with glasses and like a little briefcase. And
I have to give a shout out to Bibbs. He reviewed this for The Wrap, and he compared that guy to a character in Catalina Caper, which is a deep cut but a totally correct one.
I don't even know what that is.
This is a terrible 60s movie they did on Mystery Science Theater once. And there's literally a character, like everybody else is cavorting on the beach, and he's constantly in a suit having like slapstick pratfall. So this character is totally that. It's weird.
All right. So yeah, Serenity is terrible. All right. So let's move on to a movie that is surprisingly better than.
Do we want to do these as separate YouTube things? Yeah.
I guess so.
We'll do that. All right. So we'll be back in a moment with The Kid Who Would Be King. Thanks for watching. Follow us at BeFastAllDay on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Leave us a positive review on Apple Podcasts if you can. That's always nice. And thanks for watching.